Hey everyone, Charlie here with Daily Motor. I'm here with Chris from TheTopher, and we've been spending time with this 2020 Mini Cooper S Clubman. And this is my first time in a Clubman actually, and kind of liking it. It's got a different form factor. When we're talking sort of hot hatch market, this sort of takes a little different approach, and the main part of it is these funky barn doors here. They kind of pop open. Chris, you want to open up that other one there and just show how it sort of comes open on its own? And
it's got this charged strut.
Yeah, and it's a very low load floor here. If you were a shorter buyer, then you could just get right in it like that, load stuff in easily. And
Subject, but that Silverado has side pipes.
Wow. I'll have to look them up, give them a little shout. But yeah, you've actually got a decent amount of room back here compared to a lot of hatchbacks, a lot of sporty hatchbacks. That was a new one too, wasn't it? Is that a 6.2?
I think so, yeah. It's still spinning. One thing I forgot to mention in my video, and just that's of good note. Do you know the mini exhaust tip beer can story?
I don't.
These are beer cans.
Okay.
They're beer can shaped.
Okay.
They were more beer can shaped when the mini first came out, and it was actually the same size as beer cans, a little oversized. But the story goes, mini designers they finished the design of the car, they were really excited. They were all, British and German and, drinking a lot. And they realized at the end of the night they forgot to design the exhaust tips. So they took a beer can, made that the mold for the exhaust tip, and it's stuck true for...
Wow.
There we are.
A little bit of trivia right there for you. Mini trivia straight from the Chris's mouth. So let's get these closed here. Do you have to close them in a certain order? Yeah, it looks like you do, because if you were to close this first, that would not... Yep, it doesn't even stay closed. I bet you that's part of the reason that these are charged, because you can't do it.
That's right.
So you close the left one first. There you go. Oh yeah. Yep, just so that the mini dealer can charge you a little bit more when those go out.
Yeah, but they're so cool. It's like the FJ Cruiser's 3 wiper.
Yep. Or the E-Class Mercedes where it's just all one big one. We do like little quirks like that. Speaking of quirks, take a look at those tail lights. They've got little Union Jacks in there.
They do.
Yep. So Mini does a lot to sort of set the car apart, make it different, including this color. For those of you who are kind of into the reddish pinkish look, I'll actually go this way into the sunlight. For those of you who love that salmon color, this might be your thing. I think it's a little pale. It almost looks like a red or a pink that's sat out in the sun. It almost makes me think of like a 1992 or 95 Probe GT.
Ooh, yeah,
that sat out in somebody's front yard for a long time and sort of got sunbaked. But
it's not flat.
No, it isn't. I think there are some other colors.
Are there other options?
Yep. Is this frozen?
Yeah, probably.
There we go. There we go. All right, let's get behind the wheel and get some thoughts on... Ooh, a little slippery there. Good thing this car is on winter tires, because we do have some snow and ice we're dealing with.
And the rest of the Daily Motor videos for the rest of 2020 were filmed on crutches.
I got a little head-up display there that I would probably not opt for. I don't like the glass-based head-up displays. Yeah. Just looks like
very Mazda-ish.
It is.
5 years ago.
It looks like something that would break, something that, I don't know, it's just a distraction to me. I like head-up displays in general, but I like them to be up on the glass rather than their own little display here. So let's do a little off-the-cuff test to see how hard it is to turn that off. We're gonna use the scroll wheel here. My Mini. Vehicle settings.
See, it's the wrong way.
Yeah, that is weird. You're right.
Yeah, the scroll wheel.
The scroll wheel.
Direction of every other scroll wheel.
Interesting. Displays, head-up display, and we're going to turn that off, which will
folds away.
Ever so slowly fold down into the dash, and it's gone.
Something that might just go crunch someday.
You know, I think I've used other Minis that didn't have that weird just to show you what he's talking about here, I'm in this menu. I'm at the top, and I'm gonna scroll to the right, and nothing happens. But I scroll to the left, and it goes down. It doesn't feel right. It's not intuitive.
You get used to it, but it's not intuitive because every other car, including BMWs,
yeah,
to the right.
Yep. I wonder if that's a setting. Anyway, let's get on the road here. Let's turn some heated seat on. We've got the 7-speed DCT in this Mini, but you can get a 6-speed manual for no cost. And that brings up an interesting point, because a lot of enthusiasts like to say, oh, I need a manual transmission, I much prefer driving a manual, but this DCT is quite good. And if you're someone who spends a lot of time in stop and go traffic, or a manual is just a little bit of a novelty to you and you kind of just like to keep it reserved to your sports cars or fun cars, you might consider the DCT. What do you think, Chris?
I'm in DCT camp with this, mostly because the manual isn't amazing. It's not as good as the GTI transmission. It doesn't have the same feedback and throw. It's a little bit numb. It's a little bit rubbery, kind of like the steering in this car. But the DCT hits all the marks. It's engaging. It's fun to drive. It's practical. 7 gears, gets good gas mileage. So I think if this were a really hardcore version, like the really fast compress JCW or something like that, then a manual might be in order because you get rev matching and things like that. But really, as it sits, the DCT is a really nice pairing for this Clubman.
I agree. Quick shifts. It always kind of knows what it's doing. Why does it feel like the off-center feel in the steering is just surrounded by applesauce? That's disappointing. I'm in sport mode right now, and the steering is heavy.
It's not applesauce, it's actually Marmite.
But
yeah,
from about, and I'll get to a straight part of the road here.
Yeah, it's pretty woolly.
Yeah, woolly is a good way to put it. Yeah. There's just, let's go back into normal mode so the steering lightens up. There's just a vagueness right here where I'd like to have just some feedback and some response. That's not encouraging.
It's definitely one of the numbest steering racks I've driven.
That's a bit of a disappointment considering sort of the sporty ethos that this car is kind of appealing to.
But it's been like that for a while. You have this numb steering and this really sharp, agile, lightweight chassis.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit confusing to drive. And when I first got into this car, I was confused. I'm like, what is this trying to do? Is this a design, language piece? Is this a vehicle that's supposed to appeal to enthusiasts and the driving focused consumer? Or I don't really know. But I think many drivers are seeking something that's different and that's unique. And this also kind of plays into the luxury hatch segment for a decent price too. So it's not even as expensive as a Civic Type R, but you get way nicer amenities. You get the same interior quality and fit and finish and technology that you would in like a BMW X3 or something. So
sure.
That's nice.
That is true. If you can get past the steering, and someone who hasn't experienced a lot of good steering systems probably wouldn't notice. I think Mini is almost trying to appeal to someone who wants sporty but doesn't really know true sport. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think there are a lot of buyers in that camp that they want something that looks sporty, that's different, that's kind of fun and energetic and quirky, but they're not going to go out and buy a Subaru BRZ or a Miata.
Sure.
That's just not, they just, not only would that not fit in their lifestyle, but they're not looking to have that 10th degree of sport, but they want a semblance of that in their driving, and to them, I mean, even just a normal right now, the chassis is very good, the suspension's good, I'm having fun. I just know that Mini could do more with the steering, and because I know that, I'm disappointed.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think this would be such a more compelling car to enthusiasts if that were the case. So, and that's the thing is, I was thinking about this earlier, is Mini still an enthusiast brand? I mean, you have all these people who drive down to the Dragons and do mini Minis at the Gap, you know? Are they showing up in new Mini Cooper S's? Or are they running their supercharged cars still, you know?
I think the answer is no. I don't think Mini is an enthusiast brand anymore. I mean, you could almost beg the same question of the BMW 3 Series. Is that an enthusiast car anymore? And I think you almost have to say no to that as well. You can't buy it with a manual. The steering's numb. And I think sort of the same philosophy can be applied toward Mini. They've got the Mini Countryman, which is just a BMW X1, pretty much, yep. With some different body, and the standard Mini. Almost all Mini models are almost oxymoronic at this point. They're getting larger. Now that's not to say that Mini's bad, or that Mini doesn't deserve to still be making cars, or that they're not desirable. I think people just need to sort of change their expectations. And
exactly, and that's the big thing, is I keep expecting Minis to be this front-wheel drive perfection. And really though, if you take that expectation out of the mix, this is a really cool package.
Yeah.
You've got a wagon that has the capability of a manual transmission. It's lightweight, it's small, it's fuel efficient, it has enough space for 4 adults. You've got a good amount of cargo capacity. Hits a lot of the marks. It's a high performance car. You've got great braking. You could track this and daily it and have fun with it. And it's it's a little wagon. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. It is cool, and it's something to talk about. I think if you showed up to anything from a car meet to a date to anything,
girls love these. Girls love these cars.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think regardless of whether you're any sort of buying situation, in any sort of driver situation, this car can be talked about. Whether it's someone who's into cars, whether it's someone who isn't into cars but just kind of thinks it looks different or cool, or oh, that's a Mini. I mean, I think if you're someone who wants to have a car that kind of is always interesting, even after a few years of ownership, it's not going to be something like a Civic or like a Golf or a Jetta that just kind of fades into the background and you're like, oh, this is my car, and it means nothing. It's never talked about. I mean, this is going to be a car that always has something to talk about.
Yeah, like who knows when your water pump will go out.
You're right.
No, but really, I mean, they have really refined these cars over the last few years. I remember when Minis used to be really taxing to drive and quite harsh, and there's a lot of NVH, and this car is very livable. It feels awesome.
Yeah.
It drives really nicely for what you have lost in steering feel that honestly Minis haven't really had for a long time. You have gained in comfort and livability.
I agree. I think for the base price on this car, which is around $32,000, you can have a lot of fun. I mean, this is just putting out, what is it, 180 something horsepower, or are we over 200?
It feels about, I don't know actually.
I think.
Let's consult them and run. 189 horsepower, 207 pound-feet of torque.
And I think that torque figure is important. That it's low, it's grunty, it's got enough pull that you're not disappointed that you've got almost 30 to 40 horsepower less than a GTI of this vintage. I think that torque sort of provides that fun aspect, just kind of pulling away here, for example. I mean, you've kind of got the sound, the theatrics.
What do you think about the sound?
I kind of like the sound.
It's a unique sound in the automotive world.
That's true.
I've never heard a car sound like this.
And I think that kind of goes, you've never seen a car.
Except for in Mario Kart.
I think it sounds different, it looks different, the interior is different. If you look right here on the center display, the lights show a tachometer. It might be kind of hard to see in the sunlight actually. Let me get around this corner.
Are you racing the sun?
I am racing the sun. You can see here that those lights change with my shifts.
Oh yeah. It's like a reverse rev counter.
Yep.
Oh no, it's like a
Yep.
Oh, nice.
So just little quirks like that, I think, go a long way into making it something different. So
What does it do when you redline?
Yeah, no flash or anything.
Okay.
Yep. And I think in other modes, I think if you go down, yep, in green mode, not only does it turn green when you shift, change into that mode, oh, it is still attack. Okay. I think different minis have different functions with that. It might even be something in the settings. So, I think there's a lot that this car offers. I think the design is unique. I think it provides a lot of amenities. I think you do have to be willing to make a few compromises. For example, looking in the rearview mirror, I can't see directly behind me. Because of that barn door, rear door effect there situation, if there were a car following me directly, not only is the center headrest blocking my view, but then behind that, the doors are blocking my view. So you have to be able to put up with a few compromises. You also have to consider that this car has a lot going on in the powertrain, in the electronics, and the system. So
there's a lot of tech here.
There's a lot of tech, and with that can come some costly repair bills if you plan on owning this car for a while. It's not going to be as trouble-free as a Honda or as a Toyota, but are you getting something for that out of a new car? I think so. I think there's something there.
For the base MSRP around 31 grand, it's a really nice package. It's a really nice car. There's a lot of value here, and minis have been this expensive for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Prices haven't really increased. They were expensive 10 years ago, and now they're getting better.
Right.
And 40 grand goes a long way and gets you a lot in this car. I'd rather have this than like a BMW X1 or X2.
I agree. I almost think Mini needs to do a better job at getting themselves out there in a way. I think they do provide a compelling product, and they kind of dance this interesting line of upscale and upmarket, but also something that might appeal to someone who's buying their first new car, and maybe mid-20s, out of college, that sort of deal. So how does Mini sort of capture that market? I think what they need to do is just get people in the dealerships and behind the seat of these cars. And how they do that, I don't know. That's marketing's problem. We're just here to tell you that you should consider it.
Yeah.
Why you should and should not consider it.
It almost sounds 5-cylinder-esque.
I can see that from that pill right there.
Yeah.
5 cylinders do sound cool. What I am missing is a manual parking brake here, e-brake. as we come into this parking lot, we're not.
Kind of pull it a little bit.
You probably can, but you'd have to have quite a lot of finesse.
Do a 180 electronic parking brake.
That's for another video, that's for sure. Be sure to check out Daily Motor for more coverage of this Mini and all sorts of new vehicles. Also be sure to check out TheTopher, Chris's channel. He's got some coverage on this Mini as well as a lot of other vehicles. And be sure to check out Winding Roads coverage of this car, both in the day and night, as well as that Volvo there and all sorts of other exciting vehicles. So let's get out, take a final look at this Mini. Shut it down here with the fun little center stop start button.
Yeah, lots of toggle switches.
I do like the toggle switches.
A little bit jiggly.
A little bit jiggly, but you gotta be rough on it to get that.
I feel that icy patch for you.
Yeah, it's there. Thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to tune in for more videos. Drive on.